welcome to studio tours of the not-so-famous authors and illustrators. Today, we will be taking a tour of the home of David LaRochelle. David is the author of the books See the Cat, 3 Stories About a Dog, and How to Apologize, as well as many other books. These two happen to be both illustrated by Mike Wohnoutka, and they both happen to be published by Candlewick Press. I will be your tour guide. You may call me Mr. L. Do you have your ticket ready? I hope so. If so, get in line, single file, and we can be on our way for the tour. Cross your fingers. Hopefully, we will get to spot David someplace on the tour today. Our first step is actually pretty close, just a few feet away. This is here in David's drawing studio. And if you look over my shoulder, you can see, there it is, David's drawing table. Unfortunately, David's not here, but that allows us to have a seat here in his studio. I will take a seat here on his chair. And you can see a couple interesting things just right behind me. On the wall, those are a couple of pieces of original framed artwork from some of the books that David has written. There is a painting from This Is Not a Cat, illustrated by Mike Wohnoutka. And if I move my head, you can also see that scary-looking hamburger, and that was painted by Paul Mizell for the book the two of them did called The Haunted Hamburger and Other Ghostly Stories. Right behind me here, take a look down there, you can also get a glimpse of David's rubber duck collection. Here we have a William Shakespeare rubber duck, as well as a cute little unicorn rubber duck. The latest count, I heard that he was up to over 100 rubber ducks. One more thing to note in his studio here is right over on this side of me, you will be able to see David's window. Now, David spends a lot of time looking out that window. He claims he does that when he is brainstorming and trying to come up with inspiration. Personally, I think he looks out the window just when he's trying to procrastinate from doing work. But enough of that. Let's move on to our next stop. Maybe we will find David there. And we will walk into his computer room. And there is someone in right next to his computer, but I'm afraid it is not David. Do you know who that is? That is actually Max the dog from the book See the Cat, 3 Stories About a Dog. And that stuffed dog was made by David's good friend, Kim Furrow, a children's librarian. Boy, and it looks just like the illustration that Mike Wohnoutka did for that book. What else do we have in David's computer room here? Well, if you look right behind me on that wall, it's a little bit unusual. I've heard that when David moved into this townhouse, the very first thing that he did was he lined that whole wall behind me with cork, turning it into a giant bulletin board. And on that cork wall, he has pinned, well, let's take a look. He has, a poster from one of his favorite independent bookstores. He has postcards from places that he has traveled. He has letters from kids from schools that he has visited. And if I am not mistaken, way back in the corner, you might be able to see that is actually the high school letter that David earned when he was in high school back in 1979. Can you believe that was that long ago? Man, he must be a very old man. Here's a fun fact about that high school letter. David did not earn it in football or basketball, even though he is a rather tall man. He earned that letter in speech and debate because he was not athletic at all. And unfortunately, he's not here. Let's try looking someplace else. I do have an idea where he might be, but this is going to be downstairs. Please, as we go down the stairs, hold the railing and go slowly. This tour does not have any insurance, so if you were to trip and break your leg, I'm afraid you would just be out of luck. Well, here we are in David's living room, and you can often find David in that chair right back there. That's a place that he likes to write, especially in the wintertime, because it is right next to his fireplace. David happens to live in the town of White Bear Lake, Minnesota, where it gets very cold and snowy during the winter. It's not cold and snowy now, but it sure is in the other long winter months. David's not sitting there now, so why don't we have a seat? And, this is a pretty comfortable chair. I can see why David would like to sit here. But right next to me, can you see this? Is a table that has a number of books on it. Why don't we take a peek to see what books David has been reading recently? Maybe you'll get some ideas of books that you might want to read. Well, the first one here is the book The Last Mirror on the Left, written by Lamar Giles. And that is a young adult book. And I believe Lamar is actually one of the featured authors at this year's book festival. I've heard this is a pretty good book, and it must be because David's well into it. He's still reading, and he would have given up if he didn't like this book. One to check out for sure. Well, he's also reading this book, We Are Not Free, by Tracy Chee. This book, I know, is a young adult novel about the Japanese internment camps during World War II. I've heard it's very good as well. Well, here's an interesting book. How to Puzzle Cache. Lessons, tips, tricks, and hints for solving geocache puzzles. I know that David is a big geocacher. I don't know if you've ever tried that hobby or not, but he loves this treasure hunt using his GPS. I know he also loves puzzles, so there's no surprise that there's this magazine, Games Puzzle Magazine. Rumor has it that this current issue actually has some puzzles that David designed himself in the issue. And a picture book. That's not a surprise since David is a picture book author. Here we have 10 Ways to Hear Snow, written by Kathy Camper and illustrated by Kennard Pack. Boy, it's a great story as well as beautiful illustrations. Whether or not you live someplace where there is snow, I know you would enjoy this one. And there is one more book here. It is his diary. We probably shouldn't look at this, should we? But I don't see him around. Let's take a quick peek. Should I read something from this? That probably wouldn't be good manners. As tempting it is, I better put this away. And also, I'm afraid that David might see this video, and that would not be good if he found out I was looking at his diary. Well, we haven't found him yet, but there's one more place where I think we could look for David. And it is probably his favorite room, and that might be here in the kitchen, especially right next to the refrigerator. But I do not see David anywhere around here. However, I do see something a little unusual. Can you see that down there on the counter? That is a plate of homemade chocolate chip cookies. And what's unusual about that is that David loves homemade chocolate chip cookies. It's probably his favorite snack of all times. And if there are cookies around, it is very odd that David would not be here. I know that David LaRochelle cannot resist a homemade chocolate chip cookie. These are delicious. Oh, really, why David isn't here, I don't know, but he's missing out on something really good. Well, I'm sorry that we did not actually get to run into David on this tour, but I hope you enjoyed the tour anyway, and I hope you have a great rest of your time at this book festival. Maybe if you come back on this tour again, we can spot David. But for now, I will just say goodbye and happy reading. I'm going to have another one of these cookies.
And to all of you book lovers watching at home, I have to thank you for joining us tonight. We have an amazing lineup of children's authors, and you don't want to miss one. Furthermore, for those of you local to the Gaithersburg area, you have to be sure to check out the 4 GBF STORYWALKs, which are installed all around the city. Go to Gaithersburg.bookfestival.org and look over the author presentation schedule and STORYWALK locations so you can plan the rest of your festival month. Have a great evening all, and remember, keep reading and keep writing.